There's nothing more inspiring than hearing real people overcome real challenges to get the results they want, especially when those are the same results that you'd like to see in your own life. That's why in this episode, we are going deep with an amazing woman named Tiffany Thompson, who's actually been there and who's seen massive success after struggling for a long time. I can't wait for you to hear her story. Welcome to the Feel Better, Live Free podcast brought to you by Thinlicious. I'm your host, Ruth Sukup, and here we'll talk about everything from the science of weight loss to practical tips for making your health a priority in the midst of a busy life. It's a little bit nerdy, a little bit funny, and a little bit revolutionary. So buckle up, friend, because it's about to get real. Hey there, and welcome back to the Feel Better, Live Free podcast. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ruth Sukup, and I'm the founder of Thinlicious and the Thin Adapted System, as well as the New York Times bestselling author of 7 books. And in this special bonus episode, we are taking a deep dive into what transforming your life through adopting the Thinlicious lifestyle actually looks like by sitting down to chat with one of our amazing clients and now TAS certified coach, Tiffany Thompson. Tiffany first joined our program in 2022 at what she describes as one of the lowest points of her life. She was struggling with postpartum depression, chronic pain, and daily headaches, along with PCOS. And her doctors weren't much help. She was pretty desperate. And then she found our program. But honestly, it's better to hear her talk about it in her own words. So here's what she had to say. Tiffany, thank you so much for being here. It's so great to talk to you today.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I'm excited to dive in, but let's just start by kind of getting the overview, who you are, what you do, where you live, that kind of thing. Just the basics.
Yeah.
Give us the basics.
Yeah. Okay. Well, like I said, my name is Tiffany. I'm in very hot Southern Arizona right now. I'm 41, married. We just celebrated our 20-year anniversary. I have twins that are turning 18 in a few months and a 3-year-old.
Oh my goodness.
So my life's a little busy.
Yes.
And I currently work from home. I'm besides being a health coach, I'm also a corporate sales manager for an online retail company.
Nice. So did your twins just graduate?
No, they were their birthdays are like after the cutoff, so next year.
Okay.
Yep.
Next year. So you're going to go through all the senior
Yes.
stuff times 2.
Yes.
Well, buckle up because I just went through it and I'm exhausted.
Yeah. No, I'm already exhausted and they're not even there yet.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot. I'm telling you right now, it's a lot. This podcast isn't about that, but all of you moms of seniors that are listening to this right now, buckle up because it's a lot. So, okay, let's go back. How long have you been a part of TAS? From the very beginning?
From the beginning. So next, a few weeks will be 2 years.
2 years. Yep. That's amazing. So let's back up if you can remember this long and talk about like before TAS. What was your life like then? If you have a 3-year-old now, you had a baby at that point.
Yes.
So what was going on? Paint the picture for us.
Okay. At that point, I was miserable. I was probably at the lowest I have ever been in my whole life. I said I had just had the baby. He was he'd just turned 1 at that point. And I had breastfed for the whole year. Actually, I was an exclusive pumper, so that was like a whole nother set of circumstances. And I had lost some weight because of the breastfeeding, but then my daughter was in an accident, was in the hospital, tons of surgeries. So the stress was super high and I gained all that weight back. And then I was sick and tired all the time. Like I had major postpartum depression, anxiety. I was sick all the time, like my stomach, migraines. I was seriously just at the lowest point I've ever been.
How did you find TAS then?
I actually got one of your emails because I had followed you from EBA.
Mhm.
Um, so I got one of the emails and was like, normally, like my life was so hectic and stuff. I don't normally read all the emails, but at that point, I was like, something just compelled me to click on it, and I opened it, and I was like, oh, what's this? Maybe I should try this. So
So just a kind of a whim. Was there like a
yeah.
hesitation at all when you were like, oh, I don't know, I can't really try anything new, or you were just like, give me something?
Well, like I said, I was at the lowest point. So like I was desperate for something to change. I've been on all kinds of diets up and down throughout the years. The last attempt that I had had was about 3 years prior to that. And it was a really strict low calorie, like 1,000 calories a day. And you have to eat like so many things at each meal. And it worked. I lost weight, and I think that's how I ended up pregnant because backstory was I was told I couldn't have kids naturally. So that was
Oh,
a surprise.
so
Um,
surprised.
so I was trying to do that again, but because of life and having the baby and all that stuff, I just couldn't bring myself to do such a strict thing anymore. But I was still so desperate to get this weight off and just feel better that
Yeah.
I was looking at that. And I remember reading like the email and reading like some of the material you had sent with it that was like listing all the things that, this could help with, it could help with depression and anxiety and the stomach issues and the fatigue and all these things. And I'm reading it to my husband. And I was like, look at this. This is all these things. This is me. Like, this maybe can
Yes.
fix me. So I was
Yes.
like, I'm going to just try it.
And if your husband is anything like mine, my husband would have been like, whatever, that's crap. I don't believe that. Everybody's just a salesperson. They're all gonna just sell you a line of like that's
Like
exactly what your husband the same way.
a
Yeah.
little bit, like he knew how miserable it was. So he was trying to be supportive.
Mhm.
But he was like, yeah, that sounds like, yeah, like just try it and we'll see. And, but in
Yeah.
the end, he actually ended up doing this with me to be supportive. So
Oh,
it's
that's
changed.
amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So did you like try to go to the doctor or anything with all the health issues that you were experiencing? Like
Yeah.
what'd your doctor say?
In the past, so like I also have polycystic ovarian syndrome, and that was kind of like the go-to that the doctor always told me. Like, well, you have PCOS, so this is just going to be hard, watch your carbs and watch your sugar. But I was diagnosed when I was 20.
Mhm.
And that was, before I even had a computer in the house. Google wasn't a thing. So I had no information on what this was and what to do to heal it. And so it was just managing it the best I could, which wasn't good at all. And so anytime I went to the doctor with these complaints, they're like, it's probably the PCOS. Like, just, it just is what it is. Like, eat less, work out more. That's what I was always told.
Always. Same advice.
Yeah.
So, what were you most concerned about going into it?
When I signed up for the 28-day reset was how it started for me. And
Mhm.
when I got all the information, I looked at it and I saw it was low carb, instantly I'm like, oh, it's keto. And I had looked into keto a few years prior, and um, it didn't make sense to me. Like, how can anything this much, like eating bacon all the time and all this fat, like how is that good for me? I can't do this. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And so I was a little like disappointed. And I was like, oh man, it's just just another name for a keto diet. But I was like, it's only 28 days. I'll do it. I'll try it. And so I'm glad I did because it wasn't keto and changed my life.
It's not keto. No, we're very proud of that. Very
Yeah.
proud of that. I mean, there are aspects of it that are similar, especially in the
Right.
28 reset. So I can see where you would think that.
Yeah.
So what did you experience? So what happened in those 28 days?
Um, I'm a big carb fiend and like sugar, like I want the carbs and the sugar all the time. Like that's how I was. And so I didn't think going in I was going to be successful. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna go more than a week without eating bread or pasta or something. Um, but I was like, I'm gonna give it my all. I'm gonna try to stick to it. And I think what helped was my husband doing this with me. So it wasn't like I was the only one eating like this.
Yeah,
Um, but I had noticed towards the end of the 28 days, I was like, oh, like I'm not hungry. I'm not craving anything that I can't, like I don't miss the bread and the pasta even after the 28 days.
right.
Um, and I had, there's all the recipes to like cure the sweet tooth. So like that satisfied me and I was good.
Oh, yes, there's the food is so good.
Yeah.
So then you kept going into
Hmm.
TAS and
Hmm.
just kind of kept with it. And like what happened? What kind of results did you see?
Um, I started noticing that I wasn't getting like constant headaches. Like I used to get headaches every day. Like they called them cluster headaches, bordering on migraines every single day. Um, I started just not having any. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I didn't have a headache today. That's amazing. Um, I my stomach issues, I wasn't bloated all the time. Um, I wasn't uncomfortable. I didn't feel just gross all the time. Um, I had had like some chronic pain in my feet and my knees and my back, I think from the way I had the pregnancy and everything. That all went away. And I had, like I said, he was a year old by the time I started this. So like all that time I had been in pain.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, those were like the first things I started to notice. And then obviously like losing weight went with that.
That was a good thing too. It sounds like, I mean, your goal was to lose some weight, obviously, but it
Yeah,
was really more of the health side of it that was really impacting your life. Did you notice a difference in your like depression, anxiety, and that kind of stuff as well?
I did. It took a little longer. I mean, I've had depression and anxiety since I was a teenager.
Hmm.
And so I've been on medication. I've been dealing with that basically my whole life. Just the postpartum like took it to a whole nother level. And then with the all the stress and stuff from my daughter's accident and everything. Um, and then last year was super stressful with some other stuff with her and family issues. So I think it took some time, but I was actually to the point where I was asking my doctor, like, I need new meds or I need like an increase in the dosage because I'm miserable. Like I cry every day. I can't keep going like this. And I had already started the program at that point, but as I like worked through it, and I think it was more like when I was in phase two and I was working more on gut health and everything like that. By the time they got the insurance to approve the new medication or the new dosage, and the pharmacy finally filled it, like a couple months had gone by. And
Mm.
I go and pick
Wow.
it up, and I'm like, you know what? I don't think I actually want to take the higher dose. I think I'm actually feeling better. And so now
Huh.
I'm to the point where I'm actually going to ask them to start decreasing it. I've been on
Wow.
it for
That's
so long, I don't
amazing.
want to just stop
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that makes
yeah,
sense. But I mean that it's they say that like as soon as you start to heal your gut, you start to see those huge differences because so
yeah,
much of the serotonin in our body is produced in our gut. And so if you're having all these
exactly.
other issues, you know that your gut's not healthy. And then but it takes a long time for all that, all those changes to happen. But
Yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah.
So what advice now? Well, now you've been in our program for almost 2 years, and then you went
Hmm.
through our certification. You became a coach, and you've been
Yeah,
coaching, and you're amazing at it. And I think one of the biggest reasons is because you've been through it, right? You've experienced all these health
mhm.
issues, you've experienced a transformation. So, what do you say now to people who are just starting out with their own health journey? Like, what's your like biggest piece of advice?
Just do it. Just start. Don't overthink it. You know, don't get
Just
so
do it.
intimidated
Just
by
suck it up and
like,
do it.
yeah. Like me, like when I first looked at it and I was like, oh, it's low carb, like that's a fad, that's this and that, just
Mhm.
just do it and get past that part and
Yeah.
it'll
Get
be
over
life
the
changing.
preconceptions about what you think this is because it's
Right.
probably not what you think it is. I think that's
Exactly.
that's such a good that's such a good piece of advice because that really is true. And I think we run into that a lot because the keto has such a like a almost like a backlash against it. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
doing that. Or I did keto and it didn't work for me. Well, yeah, the reason it didn't work for
Yeah.
you is because keto, if you just keep doing keto by itself, like that's like you can't do
Right.
that forever because it's really not that good for you. There's like different pieces of it. Um, so just do it. That's your advice. Just do it.
Just
What
do
if
it.
somebody's like, yeah, but I can't give up carbohydrates. What do you say?
Just give it the 28 days.
28
Like
days.
you can do anything for 28 days.
Yeah.
That's how I had to
Yeah.
look at it and go but watch those mindset lessons over and over again because
Over
that's what I
and
did.
over again. So much of that battle happens in your head. It's so
Yeah.
true. Like so much of it happens when we like, and there is like a physiological component, right, of the
Mhm.
addiction. But think about
Oh
like the
yeah.
addiction. that you do really want to be beholden. Like if you're going through your day saying, I cannot live without pasta or sugar or
Mhm.
bread, like I can't do it, right? Like that is literally the definition of addiction. And we don't really think about it because it's like it's food and not
Oh yeah,
like drugs, but it's the same physiological response that you're having as you would to
absolutely.
drugs. So
Yeah.
do you have any tips for how you make this work in your day-to-day life? I mean, you're like you said, you're super busy. You got teenagers,
Mhm.
which teenagers are a lot. I trust
Yeah.
me, I'm right there with you on teenagers. And then a 3-year-old, I can't even imagine. Like honestly,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine dealing with all the teenager stuff and a 3-year-old. Like, how do you even
It's
sleep? Because
insane.
the teenagers
I
want like
don't
the
sleep.
late night stuff, and the
Yeah.
kids are, oh my gosh, I don't even know.
Yeah.
You don't
I don't
sleep.
sleep. I was trying to hide the bags under my eyes today. Because the 3-year-old, he's like anti-sleep right now. So it's
Oh,
insane. Yeah, so my tips for just my everyday life, because I've got the teenagers and the toddler, and my parents actually live with us, so I actually fix dinner for everybody. And only three of us eat this way. Like it's myself, my husband, and my mom. The
mhm.
rest of them are all like the pickiest eaters I've ever met in my entire life. And I've just learned to, I went through like all the recipes, went and like found some of my own, some that weren't, like a low carb to begin with, but just learned how to adapt everything. Because I think that
Mhm.
was what was, I didn't want to, how do I word that? I don't want to have to get used to a whole bunch of new food, especially for the people who are not eating
Picky.
this way, because then
Mhm.
they're gonna start yelling at me. Um, I I just found it easier to just learn how to adapt the food that we were already regularly fixing, and then throw in some new TAS ones, and then just keep stuff on hand that was quick and easy to grab, like beef jerky, hard-boiled eggs, cheese. Things that if life is super hectic and I don't have time to grab lunch because I'm running out the door, I've got something I can grab, and it's not like, oh, I'm gonna have to stop at a fast food place and make poor decisions.
Right, right. I think that prepping is so key, especially in the beginning
Mhm.
when you just want to make sure that there's something, because I think that's the part where like you don't have to be hungry. You can eat as much as you want. You don't have to count calories, but you do need something to grab that is actually a good choice.
Yeah,
So making sure that you have it. Did you make a lot of like the snack bites and that kind of stuff
I
at
did.
first? Like, do you still make them, or is it like an ongoing
Um,
thing? Like you're like, I always like to have my little sweet, or are you kind of over
Yeah,
that?
like no, I always have like something. I mean, well, I'll go on like little breaks. Like I'm like maybe I need to not do all the little snack bites and stuff, but I usually have something like
Yeah.
just to create, that sweet tooth at the end of the night or something. But yeah, I did a lot of like those chocolate peanut butter bites. Those were a big favorite. My husband loved those. Like I
Yeah.
thought it was the funniest thing, him doing this with me, because I really thought he was going to give up after a very short time.
Yeah.
And he was like, I can't believe that this is like good for you. We can eat all of this stuff. And I'm like, I know, see, I'm telling you.
I know the men love it. All the meat. They're like, give me the
Yeah.
more meat. My
Yes.
husband is the same way. Like he just likes to eat this way. It's funny.
Yeah.
And I've heard that the husband effect is severe. So did your husband lose a lot of weight too then?
He did. He didn't have a ton of weight to lose to begin with.
Mm.
But yeah, he lost probably like 20, 30 pounds. But the
Oh
big
wow.
thing for him was he's had chronic high blood pressure since he was in his 20s.
Oh
And
my
they just kept
goodness.
telling him it was like hereditary and stress because he's a law enforcement officer, so high stress. um, he did this and he started feeling really off. And I was like, go to the doctor, like, go see what's going on. And it turns out because he was on two different blood pressure medications while doing this, his blood pressure got so low, it was making him
Oh,
feel all nasty. So, like, they took him off the medication because
wow.
the diet just fixed
Fixed his blood
whatever
pressure.
was causing. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
amazing. That's
yeah.
amazing. Wow. So is there anything that you can share from like a coach's perspective that you notice about people when they first join? Like, is there any like one thing that you would say, like, okay, you made this decision, and then they come in, and then you're like, oh, but don't do that. What is it like? What's the most common mistake that you see happening when somebody first joins?
Um, I would say there's two. The first one is they're trying to do everything perfectly, like
Mm,
before they even start. And so they keep delaying that start date. because they want to have everything ready, like get all the ingredients, everything together. And I'm like, just start. You
Just
don't have
start.
to have all the things. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm 2 years into it and there's things on that list I still haven't purchased.
Yep.
If I would have waited to get all the things, they never would have started. Um,
Right.
and then the other one is once they do start, then they're trying to do all the things all at the same time.
Yes.
And I think it's that ingrained part, like, you're changing the way you're eating, but now you also need to exercise. And I'm like, if you weren't already exercising, just hold off. We'll get there.
Hold
One
off.
thing at a time.
Yes, that's so true. And that's actually why we're making the changes that we are to the program. Like we're not changing the program itself. It's all the same. The curriculum is still the same, but we're changing the way that we are um like I don't know how you describe it, like gating it, I guess is the right way to like not like doling it out or dripping it out. Because instead of giving people like, here's all the information, go watch all the videos, go do all the stuff. And then everybody's like, but I want, and then you have the like two different responses to that, right? You have the response of what you just said, like, oh my gosh, I have to watch all the things and I have to get all the stuff and I have to do it all perfectly because if I don't do everything and I don't do it all at once, da, 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 da. And so there's those people, and then they get overwhelmed and don't start. And then there's the people that are just like, this is too much information all at once, and they get overwhelmed and they don't start. So we're breaking it up so that everything just goes like, here's your first step, do this, and here's your little checklist, go finish this checklist, and then come back to us and we'll give you the next checklist. And then you can do this. And that way it makes sense. So you're doing the right things in the right order and slowly adding more elements of the program because there is a lot. Like there is a lot to it, and there's a lot. That's why it's not keto, because there's a lot more than just that goes beyond just cutting carbs. And so actually adding those things one piece at a time, I think is going to help people be even more successful than they already have. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that sounds like a
That's
good
actually
idea.
happening. Like by the time this podcast episode airs, that's how the program will be, because as we're
Nice.
recording this, it's like happening at the end of the week.
Nice. And I think that's like since I was one of the beta members, it didn't all come out at the same time. We
Well,
had to
that's
wait for
true.
those
That's
lessons. And I think
true.
that
I
helped because
forgot
I would
about
have been one
that.
of those people that would have
Yeah.
tried to binge watch everything and it would have been information overload. And I
Mm-hmm.
the concepts wouldn't have stuck as
Yeah.
well with me.
Yeah. 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 I forgot about that. Yes, we did. We taught the very first round live. So you had no choice but to wait. So
Yeah.
it'll be a little bit more like that now where you're waiting and watching the right things at the right time. So I'm excited about that little shift that we're making. So Tiffany, it was so good to talk to you today. Thank you so much for sharing your story, and any last words of advice that you want to give?
Well, first, like, thank you for having me on here. Like I said, just start it. Just do it. Don't overthink it.
I love it. Don't overthink it. Words to live by. Thanks so much, Tiffany. Isn't Tiffany's story inspiring? It's amazing how changing the way that you eat can literally transform every part of your life and your health. And I'll just say this too. If you want to find out more about how you can get started with TAS, be sure to check out our free training, which you can find at thinlicious.com/happy. Once again, that URL is thinlicious.com/happy. All right, friends, that brings me to the end of this bonus episode, but I will be back again very soon with another new episode.